on, everyone? It's DK with RPM Gaming, where we talk about retro PC and mobile gaming. And today we're going to be taking a look at my first gaming PC setup. I know a lot of people like to build their PCs from the ground up, but I decided to go a little different route. And I went with the Beelink Mini PC, along with their dedicated graphics docking station. And then to top it all off, we're going to use an RTX 4070 on it. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get started. So let's jump right in here. For my first setup, I decided to go with a mini PC from Beelink, and it is the GTI 14 Ultra, the Frost Silver model. And out of the box, we've got 32 gigabytes of the DDR5 RAM and 1 terabyte of storage, along with our quick start guide, our user manual, a hello card from Beelink, our HDMI cable, and our power supply cord, which doesn't require a power brick because this mini PC has its own integrated 145 watt power supply. For our I/O on the front, we've got a USB 3.2 port, a full-size SD card reader, a USB-C 10 gig port, a 3.5mm audio jack, and our fingerprint sensor power button. And the 4 holes along the top is the built-in microphone. Around back, we've got some ventilation, our power input, a USB 4 40 gig port, another 3.5mm audio jack, a full-size display port, as well as a full-size HDMI port, and 2 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, along with 4 more USB 3.2 ports. And underneath on the bottom here, we've got our dust cover, and underneath this rubber grommet right here is where our PCIe X8 slot is, which is going to be a lot faster than Thunderbolt 4, USB 4, and even Oculink. And this slot is also where we'll be connecting to the Beelink EX dedicated graphics docking station. So let's take a look at it now. And with this docking station, you'll be able to add a dedicated graphics card to the mini PC, which will really boost the performance on it. The station has its own built-in 600 watt power supply, an extra M.2 slot for SSD or Wi-Fi, 2 8-pin PCIe power connectors, 2 of the shorter 8-pin PCIe cables, and of course the PCIe slot. The bracketing system on the dock will allow you to go up to a 2.5 slot card, but with a little modding you can go higher if you'd like. And this here is the extra piece for the little Wi-Fi card. I think we're just going to stick with an SSD though. And for our graphics card, we decided to go with the Asus GeForce RTX 4070 Super, which is going to be plenty for right now. And now let's open up this mini PC and add a little bit of extra storage to it. This particular model does take a little bit of extra work to upgrade the RAM and storage on it. And this is all due to it having that internal power supply, as well as a couple of internal speakers. And this is kind of a neat feature, but I can't imagine that too many people are going to be using these little speakers. The Beelink GTI 14 is running the Intel Core Ultra 9 185H CPU, which has 16 cores and 22 threads. 6 of those are performance cores up to 5.1 GHz, 8 efficient cores up to 3.8 GHz, 2 low power efficient cores up to 2.5 GHz. It has the Intel AI Boost NPU and the Intel Arc I GPU. The RAM is upgradable up to 96 gigabytes of the DDR5 at 5600 MHz. It also has 2 of the M.2 PCIe 4 SSD slots, which we'll uncover sooner or later, Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, and comes out of the box with Windows 11. And right here is that internal 145 watt power supply that we've talked about. And even though it is more work, I do like the fact that it is inside. Just makes for a lot less clutter and neater desk. And once we've taken all the screws out of this plate here, you'll probably want to use a small set of pliers to take this piece here out. And once you've got it removed, we're finally able to get to that SSD slot, which sets just above your internal Wi-Fi card. So be careful with the antennas when installing the SSD. Be sure to tuck them back in the right place too, because you don't want them to get caught in front of that PCIe slot. Now that we've got our SSD installed and the machine put back together, let's get into some gaming and see what it can do. Here we are running Forza Horizon 4 on low settings, and it's running between 50 and 60 frames, closer to 60, and this is a fairly easy game to run on PC. Next up, we've got Ghost of Tsushima running on low settings, and that's coming in at around 25 FPS. And it looks like it's holding pretty steady at that frame rate. Next up, we got Ken taking on Luke in Street Fighter 6, low settings, and that's running about 40 frames per second. And with these fighting games, you really want to be up around that 60 FPS mark, especially if you're playing online. You can really see that slowdown at those lower frame rates. And here we are running Returnal, again on low settings, and we're not even making it above 20 frames per second. To be fair, this is a little tougher of a game to run, but still, 20 frames per second. If you were just going to stick with a mini PC, you could probably do a little more optimization and get it up closer to that 30 mark. And with that PCIe slot, you might as well take advantage of it. And last but not least, we got Black Myth Wukong running on low settings and holding pretty steady at around 30 FPS. And for me, that 30 FPS mark is totally playable, especially if you're playing on a smaller screen, but I really want to see what that graphics dock with the 4070 can do. So let's take a look at the Time Spy score with just a mini PC, and then bump everything up. And with just the Beelink running that Intel Core Ultra 9 processor, coming in with a Time Spy score of 3951, with a graphics score of 3582 and a CPU score of 9516, which is coming in just over a 2023 Office laptop and better than 15% of all results. Now let's get our docking station put together and see how much we can bump those scores. Just going to take our 4070 graphics card, line it up with that slot, and then press it on in. Next up, we'll remove the rubber grommet on our mini PC, line it up with a PCIe connector, and then slide that into place. Once that's done, we can install our securing brackets and then connect our 8-pin PCIe connectors. And here's our final setup. Our display out will be coming from our graphics card. I know a lot of people probably prefer to just build their own PC, but I really like this compact little setup. And if you're just getting into PC gaming, a setup like this is pretty straightforward plug and play for the most part. And once that graphics card gets outdated, it'll only take about 60 seconds to swap it out for a new one. Now with our 4070 installed, our Time Spy score is up to 15,481. Our graphics score is coming in at 20,139, and our CPU score is coming in at 6701. It's now bumped it up to just over a 2023 gaming laptop and better than 74% of all results. This is nowhere near a top-of-the-line machine, but that's a pretty huge jump. And more than enough for anything I'm going to be playing right now. Now let's check out that gaming and see how much better that is. We're back on Forza Horizon 4 on Ultra settings, and we're running anywhere from about 95 to 100 FPS. As I mentioned before, this game is pretty easy to run on PC, and it bumped it up by about 40 FPS overall. So let's try something a little more difficult. Here we are in Ghost of Tsushima again on very high settings, and it's running about the same, 95 to 100 FPS. And on a frame rate that's running this high, maybe your eyes are a little better than mine. Without that frame counter on, I'm not going to be able to notice those drops in the frames. I think it looks really good, and I could play it like this all day long. The scenery in the countryside in here just looks gorgeous. And now, let's check out a little Street Fighter 6. And we're running on very high settings, and it's holding steady at 60 FPS. And it's running a whole lot smoother than it was at that 40. But, unfortunately, with the improved frame rate, my skills didn't improve along with it. And yet, somehow, I still managed the victory. Boom! Ryu for the win! Now we've got Returnal running on epic settings, and it's hovering around 60 FPS. You still get a few dips now and then, and I think this is a fairly difficult game to run on PC. I think the lowest drop I've seen, it dropped down to about 30 FPS at one point. But I bet you could tinker with those settings and have it running pretty smooth overall. Even running at the 30 FPS, that's still a jump from where we started at though. Next up, we're checking out Black Myth Wukong again, and it's running on very high settings, and the FPS is staying about 65 to 70 overall. After setting up the Beelink docking station and installing the RTX 4070, I just maxed out each one of these games on their graphical settings without making any tweaks. Well, actually, I think there may be one setting higher on this game, maybe a cinematic setting, but all the other ones were just maxed out. So if you're the type of person that wants a rock-solid locked frame rate, I'm sure you could go into the graphical settings and tweak it and mess around a little bit and get that with this setup. I personally don't mind it, because I'm not going to notice it unless it dips tremendously, so it works out well for me. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Alright everyone, so at this point I've been using the Beelink mini PC and the docking station combo for a couple of months now. Overall, I'm really happy with it. I had a couple of other PCs before, mini PCs from different companies, and they have a lot of problems with those, but I haven't had any with these. I'm really enjoying this setup. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments, and I'll leave links in the descriptions. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Check out our other videos, and we'll see you next time on RPM Gaming.